All right, Sean, we're back here on our third map of Week 3 of the MLG Starcraft 2 Show Match Series. Machine is now up 2-0 over LZ, his friend and competitor today of this ZVT matchup. So we're going to go ahead and get the match started. Now, Desert Oasis, I know you love to talk about this map because of the two lanes where it's just so much time to get to each other bases. So why don't you go and talk a little bit about this map?
I mean, what I love so much about Desert Oasis, just as a map, but more importantly, about the third map in a best of 5, is that it's such a huge map that there's not really that many gimmicky rushes that you can do, with perhaps the exception of Reapers early on for Terran. A lot of drops happen in the mid-game, but most importantly, if you're doing any ground attack, you can either go along the left side of the map or along the right side. So you have to be very wary of counterattacks. I mean, if we just look at Machine at the bottom, who spawned as pink, if you go to Machine's natural expansion at the bottom left, it's huge, wide open. If you go north of that, there's a sort of a tiny entrance, but, you know, nowhere near close to the expansion, really hard to hold. And if you look to the right of that expansion, there's this big, wide open area, so you have to be very careful to defend with lots of well-positioned units and be very aware of what your opponent is doing.
Now, one of the strats that I've seen a lot of Terrans doing recently in ladder play is lifting that command center at the very start of the game and rushing as fast as possible to one of those high-yield expansions. And I talked a little bit to LZ before the match, asking if he was going to do this strat, and he ended up telling me he doesn't know right now, but probably not because it seems a little bit cheesy. Now, have you actually watched, I know you watch a lot of replays in a lot of games, have you actually seen any games where a Terran player has utilized that?
No, you don't really have anyone lifting their very first command center doing anything nutty with it, but, I really wish LzGaMeR did, because that would be totally profoundly sweet here in Game 3.
I've seen I was just going to say, I've seen on one of, I think it was Orb on TL.net, he was streaming a match, and he actually his opponent lifted to the high-yield expansion. His opponent ended up winning. Puts you a little bit ahead in that early game, but once you get to the mid-game, it evens out because those high-yield minerals end up going a lot faster than those regular mineral fields. But pretty much the standard opening now, getting back to the game, we're pretty much seeing both players do what they've done the past two games, with LZ getting that quick refinery right after that barracks. Wow, what the hell is a barracks? But anyways, the spawning pool about to finish now inside of Machine's base, and probably going to see a natural expansion here pretty soon, unless, like you were saying, do you think that natural expansion is going to be too open for him and he's going to play a little bit safer of a game here?
That's what's so interesting, is that even though it's safe to take it early on because the rush distances are enormous, it's that mid-game that you really start to worry about. So it looks like Machine is doing pretty much the standard opening he's been doing, getting a somewhat early pool, getting a queen out. Wouldn't be surprised if he got a layer, going for some sort of fast Mutalisk right now, but we do see that drone moving out. So again, Machine, enjoying repetition, likes doing that same opening he's done before, as Zerglings do take out that SCV. And it looks like we're seeing pretty much a similar opening from Machine as we've seen in previous games.
All right, now looking back in LZ's base, we do see that orbital command and that first mule going down, of course getting him a little bit of extra minerals. We do not see an attachment, however, on that barracks there. We see another factory going down. Maybe he's waiting to get that tech lab down. Oh, he's actually lifting it. For some reason, I'm not really sure. He's building now a reactor next to that factory. I think we're going to maybe see a Hellion rush here from that when that factory finishes, possibly picking it up and drop. Oh, nope, it's a tech lab. That was actually a misclick by him. He switches it on me. But do you think we're going to see that factory lifted and that barracks there lifted as well, and them switching places possibly?
Yeah, it looks like he'll be going for the fast tank. I mean, I saw what you were mentioning earlier as well. I mean, that barracks had the reactor en route. I hope he didn't inadvertently make the tech lab. But we do see that the factory is landing, and one Hellion coming out looks like he instead wants to get perhaps the fast pre-igniter upgrade. Oh, that's exactly what he's doing, making sure to get those super, super upgraded Hellions, which do tons of damage against those early Zerglings. That barracks has landed, making Marines. If we go back to Machine's base, he's getting that Roach Warren. A little bit of a faster layer here, again, because the rush distances are so far. He's Maynarding those drones to the expansion. And what's so cool about this opening by LzGaMeR is that he's doing a Marine Hellion push. Very difficult to defend if you have a huge, wide-open natural expansion. So we're definitely going to see a lot of cool early aggression on this map.
All right, now we see that natural expansion, of course, like you just said, being finished. Another extracted, pretty much just waiting to see what these two players are going to be doing and waiting for that first fight. The Infernal Pre-Igniter is about halfway finished, and we see him continue to spawn Hellions, now sending those 3 Marines out, possibly does not see that Zergling. Maybe we can get a little bit of extra scouting for Machine here if he rushes that Zergling into the base and possibly see what LzGaMeR is up to.
Oh man, I'm getting a little confused by LzGaMeR. We see that the factory, the barracks is now lifted and it's just hanging out, not doing anything. Perhaps he's intending on switching the factory back over there and going for Hellion Marine Marauder. There's a lot of cool things you can do early on. Looks like a tech lab is going down at that other barracks, but...
And I think as soon as we see that pre-igniter finish and that Hellion finish, we're going to see him lift that factory and possibly switch that barracks over to it. Yep, and there it goes. So he's going to be spawning, I guess, double Hellions now and going with that Marine Marauder Hellion push like you were saying.
Or perhaps it's just going to be pure Marauder Hellion. If we go back over to Machine's base, though, looks like Machine already has some roaches in good defense. He's at lair. He has that Hydralisk den done and the range upgrading. So looks like he's going to be pretty much okay. This is just such a late attack by LZ. Man, LZ hasn't even moved out yet. I mean, this is the sort of push. Like, if LZ did this on Steps of War, I would have been like, oh, what a sexy beast. But on this map, I'm just like, man, that's a long ways to go. I hope your Hellions have Gatorade or, bring a DS or have something to do on the way there.
He did send those 3 Marines out there, I guess, as a little scouting party. We're going to see exactly what happened last match with that Overlord speed, just freely scouting LzGaMeR's base, seeing exactly what he's up to. But now if you look toward the bottom of the map, you see those 6 Hellions now with that upgraded speed about to go into his base and possibly kill off a lot of drones. He's sitting outside now, not sure what we're waiting on. We go back into his base, and he's pumping out those Marauders. Now back to the Hellions. It looks like he's back to microing those. We see him sitting at the ramp. Now the ramp is blocked off.
Going to the ramp. Oh my god, wow. Going right up that ramp. That was unbelievable. I mean, these Hellions do so much damage to Hydralisk, and now going right in the mineral line. Oh, just one more shot. Look at him just roasting those drones.
So many drones were lost right there. Almost the entire mineral line of drones there lost to those 6 Hellions. That was a great little economy hiccup for Machine there, thanks to LzGaMeR from those Hellions.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought that Machine was going to be completely fine, because even though Hellions demolish Hydralisks have that light armor type, so that Hellion pre-igniter just does so much additional damage. I thought that Machine had plenty of roaches to clog up that ramp, hide the Hydralisks behind, and just defend it properly, but man, just a little bit of a control slip-up, and those Hellions just catapulted right up that ramp, and now Machine's hurting for money.
We actually just saw LzGaMeR start building a barracks inside of his base and then decided to cancel it. I'm not really sure why. We do see a starport about to finish now inside of his base. We see 2 more Hellions now in the left side of the map at the 9 o'clock position, going down, kind of turning around, seeing that Overlord, knows that he scouted. I think he might turn back now, possibly go the other way. It's just scouting about, kind of checking to see what's going around the map, sitting in the middle of the map now. And going back into Machine's base, we just see his Queen there. Man, the Queen is always at work for that Zerg, just going over there and just puking on the hatcheries, getting those extra larvas up. We see him now trying to get those double evolution chamber, actually now, going for those important upgrades for the Hydralisk, and pretty much the same build that we saw last game from Machine. It looks like we're going to see this game as well.
Machine has to be a little bit more wary, because even though LZ isn't in the best situation economically, his unit composition is just so strong. If you can get a good Hellion flank on Hydralisks, the Hydralisks evaporate almost immediately, and then it's just roaches and Marauders. And, I mean, the Marauders are going to win that pretty much every time, especially considering the number that we see LzGaMeR have right now.
We see LzGaMeR actually trying to get that natural expansion down to catch up with the economy and kind of just transition into the usual timing is about right now for Terran to get that natural expansion. But he had a Zergling there to kind of prevent that. He still has not built another command center. There we go, as he builds it now at his natural expansion and gets ready for a push, which is a pretty great timing because obviously his opponent's not going to be able to come and stop that.
Oh, and in the main, a Hellion drop. Oh, the Hellion's just doing so much damage. Now we see the purpose of that very early starport. The Roaches rushing in there. These Hellions are going to try to take out these Hydralisks, but did not get a good flank set up. The medevac does have to pull back, but great job right there by LZ, pulling all those forces back, preparing for this big push up at the front.
Yeah, completely missed that. It looks like he dropped about 5 or 6 drones there, again, hurting Machine's economy. And now we see a big force getting ready to push in. We see more Hellions being loaded up into that medevac and going back to that mineral line as the Roaches and the Hydralisks getting ready to engage those mass Marauders there, stimming, and looks like he's just going to work on those Roaches. Now all Roaches are down, and now he's just going to work on those Hydralisks with that medevac coming in. And we see a ton of drones just being destroyed inside of Machine's base, and all of his forces now are gone to those Marauders with those one upgrade from the engineering bay. It looks like we might see, yep, he's loading them into his medevac's, getting ready to drop some more drones, possibly getting ready to kill that lair, just killing all of his structures there, those very important structures to allow him to build those units. So, I mean, this is some great aggressive play from LZ this game, quite different from the past 2 matches. And we see a GG, actually. Wow.
Good game. Whoa! I am blown away at what I just saw LZ do. I mean, at first I was getting a little confused because that barracks was doing a lot of lifting and moving and rotating around, and I knew that Hellions are pretty good early on, but, you know, if there's roaches, it'll get denied pretty easily. But wow, LZ knew exactly when to poke in there with those Hellions, did so much damage, and then started doing that drop tactic to pull everything back, and when he hit with that Marauder army he'd been building up all game long, there was absolutely nothing that Machine could do to hold it off.
Yep. Now we are going to be going into our 4th match on Kulas Ravine, now with a 2-1 series with Machine still ahead, but I think that last game is going to really help LZ's confidence. So, Sean, going to this next matchup, do you have kind of anything else you want to say before we cut it off?
Well, I'll save most of my discussion of Kulas Ravine for, you know, when we get right into that map, but my God, I'm just so impressed by the display we've seen by LzGaMeR. He's done a lot of early expansion-oriented builds that we've seen, and in this game just did a completely different move, pulled the good old topsy-turvy on Machine, and just won with a brilliant display of tactics. I'm just very impressed.
All right, well, there you have it. We will be going into our 4th match really quickly on Kulas Ravine.